Okay, so we've kind of kept our presentation portion pretty short. We want to save most of the time for you all to be able to ask us questions. So first off, though, congratulations again to echo what Chantel said on your acceptance into Maryland and to the Honors College. And we're really excited that you are interested in learning more about the Gemstone Honors Program. And so tonight we'll give a little bit of an overview of what it looks like to be in Gemstone. So I'm Dr. Allison Lansverix. I'm the Associate Director of the program, and I'm joined today by Brianna Lucas. She is our Program Manager for Student Engagement, and so she's going to talk all about the ways to get involved in the program that kind of go along with the research aspect and the curriculum, etc. And then even the most exciting part is we are joined by four of our current Gemstone students tonight. And so I'm going to, in just a few slides, I'll give them a chance to introduce themselves, share a little bit about what their Gemstone team is researching, and really they're going to be the best resource for getting to answer questions. Of course, we will also answer questions for you as well, but they have the unique experience of being in Gemstone, and they can tell you all the details about what it's like to be in the program, the really exciting research that they're doing. And so we, as I mentioned, want to save most of the time for that. But again, welcome, and let's kick it off. So next slide, Brianna. Okay, so Gemstone, just to give you an overview of what the program is, our kind of special flavor within the Honors College is that we focus on team research, and most specifically the aspect of interdisciplinary team research. So and students from all different majors can join Gemstone. We think that's really exciting. And then for our research teams, what's really cool is often there are different ways to approach answering a research question from different disciplines. And so having these teams made up of students who are coming from all different majors to lend their expertise and their ideas, it makes really exciting ways to address these really important research problems. Usually the team sizes are 8 to 12 students. And what happens is if you join Gemstone is that you'll come in your first year, you'll learn a little bit about what it means to do research, what specifically team research looks like. And then you will form your research teams in the spring of your first year, and then be matched with a faculty mentor and then conduct research with that team, with that mentor for 3 years. So it's really exciting. We do have curriculum that kind of takes you through the early stages of the process where you're learning what it means to what do you need to know about research before you do it yourself. And then once you're on your research teams, you take research seminar classes, and those are with your team, with your faculty mentor. And those are the ones where you're really doing the bulk of your projects for the 3 years. So we can answer more specific questions of what it looks like, but that's kind of what's at the core of Gemstone. And then, of course, we have lots of other exciting aspects that you would get to participate in and when being in the program. So yeah, this is where I'll give our four Gemstone students just a chance to introduce themselves. So if you can hop off of mute and maybe say, how about what year you are in Gemstone, what your major is, and then just like a 1 or 2 sentence summary about what your Gemstone team is doing. Let's see. Owen, do you want to kick it off? Oh, I think you're muted. Let me see. Oh, no. Well, he's figuring that out. Leah, do you want to jump on?
Yeah, I can go. Can you hear me? Okay. Hi everyone. My name is Leah. I'm a senior here at Maryland. So I've been in GEMS for 4 years. I'm a public health major, and I'm planning to apply to PA school this cycle. My GEMS team is called Team Belly. We are researching basically gastrointestinal symptoms, the gut microbiome, and transit time in specifically women and females across their menstrual cycle. My team is made up of 10 undergraduate, specifically women, and we really wanted to focus on this to kind of highlight how women are not the subjects of research clinically very often. So, yeah, that's me.
Thank you. Owen, is your Sound working?
I think, is it working now?
Yes.
Okay, great. I am also a senior on Team Scoot. Scoot is, we do research under the robotics director of Maryland, Dr. Derek Paley, and we're focusing on rehabilitation in robotics. Specifically, we're developing a power assisted knee scooter. So those who are recovering from like a leg injury, we did like something called an I-Core interview where a lot of people struggled with getting over hills, getting through rough terrain. So we're focusing particularly on knee scooters ways to make it easier for those or people to self-navigate. And in general, we're also going more into just any sort of power assist for the use of rehabilitation. So if someone's using a power assist wheelchair or if someone's pushing a wheelchair in like a service industry, you'll have power assist to make it easier to have movement and navigate just around your surroundings.
Great, thanks, Owen. Let's see. Next up on my screen, at least, is Emma. Could you tell us a little bit about your team?
Hi, my name is Emma. I am a sophomore human development major, and I'm on Team Scalpel. So we want to use mesenchymal stem cells to hopefully reduce the spread of pancreatic neuroendocrine tumors.
Great, thank you. And last but not least, Sarah.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm a second year public health major, and I'm on Team BROX, which stands for Building Resistant Organic Coated Sutures. So we're trying to utilize the compounds found in broccoli or other cruciferous vegetables to see if we can extract the antimicrobial effects and apply them to site infections, specifically through sutures, and to find a way to treat antibiotic resistance.
Great, thank you. And so as you can see from just the four of our students who are on the call, the diversity of team topics, we also on this slide included a snapshot of some of the other teams' topics. But you can see they range all over the board. And if you're interested and you wanted to learn more about what the Gemstone teams are doing, if you go to our website, there is a section under teams, under team search, where you can look at all the websites for all the current teams, and then you can even learn more about all of the previous teams going back to the beginning of Gemstone. So it's really exciting to kind of take a look, see what teams have researched in the past, and maybe get to know a little bit about what the possibilities are for Gemstone teams if you end up joining us next year. Okay, so we can go next slide. Yeah, thank you. This is just a brief summary of our curriculum. As we mentioned, we are a 4-year program. We do just want to say, the other programs are 2 years, but we have similar total credit limits, credits that are required to complete the honors program. And so in some ways, ours is like spread over 4 years, which hopefully then allows you for more flexibility to fit in your courses for your major or other classes that you'd be taking. In the first year, it's about research topic exploration. As I mentioned, what do you need to know what do you need to know about research before you get to do it yourself? And that's when you form the teams. In your second year, you are figuring out, okay, how can we then answer our research question? We'll write our research proposal and defend that. And then you're able to kind of get started on whatever your research endeavors look like. And then the third year is really about collecting data in whatever form that looks like. By your fourth year, you might be finishing that up and then doing data analysis. And then in your last semester of that fourth year, as a team, you will write and you will defend your final thesis. So that's really exciting. That goes in the university repository. And so it's something that people can refer back to and look at for years and years to come. More research might be built off of what you have put together. And then, yeah, I think it's a really cool opportunity and unique that you get to see a research project through its entire life cycle, which is a little bit different than if you just get involved in research in other capacities on campus, because you're there kind of from the very beginning, the actual coming up with ideas, forming these teams, figuring out the direction, and all through the end when you actually write your thesis. So yeah, that's an overview of our curriculum. And with that, I'm going to hand it off to Bree to share a little bit more about other ways that you can get involved in the Gemstone program.
Yeah, thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Like Allison said, my name is Bree, and I am the program manager for student engagement. So, just a fancy way of saying that I get to focus on kind of the leadership and professional development of our students in the Gemstone program. So, as you can see here, we have a couple different photos from various events and different things that we do on our Gemstone Leadership Council. So, for those of you that are in high school, the Gemstone Leadership Council is similar to kind of like a student organization that is specific to the Gemstone Honors Program. So I'm going to kind of dive in a little bit on the various bullet points that I have here of opportunities within GLC. It is a lot of information, so I will run through it quickly, but I also am available for questions afterwards. But first thing on here is our GEMS camp. So a couple of the students here on the call will probably talk about this a little bit later, but this is our introduction to Gemstone. So basically we host a 3-day camp that happens right before the semester starts. And don't worry, it's not camping to a crazy extent. I would say it's almost like glamping a little bit. So for those of you like myself that are not very outdoorsy, don't you worry, it's not that bad. But basically, we go to a location that's not too far from campus, and essentially it's a way for you to get to know the people that are coming into the Gemstone program in your cohort, but you also get the opportunity to interact with upperclassmen students that are in the Gemstone program. So those students come back and they are called camp leaders. And so they basically lead you through a bunch of different activities to get to know people that are in your cohort. You also get to do a bunch of just like leadership and just bonding activities in general. So it's nice that you get to kind of move into campus early. You get to come with us for a couple days. And then by the time you come back to campus, you already know a good amount of people as you're getting adjusted to being on campus. So you all, if you choose to join our program, we'll start to get more information about that pretty soon. So we're pretty excited about that. The next bullet point is our DEI committee, so diversity, equity, and inclusion. So this is one of the committees, like I said, on the Gemstone Leadership Council. And so this committee, they do plenty of different things. Honestly, it would take me a while to really list everything out, but they get to do basically topic-based events throughout the year that the co-directors and the committee would like to put on. So for example, we've done some things for Black History Month. We've done some things for Hispanic Heritage Month. They've also done some stuff for Pride Month. So there's a bunch of different type of activities that they do. Most of them are curriculum based in a way of trying to educate students on the various topics, but it's also a lot of fun activities as well that they kind of include in that. And then they also host something called Community Convo, where basically it's like a town hall for the students that are in Gemstone. And we get to have a conversation as staff and as the students to figure out how to better our program. So they're super helpful, and we definitely love having them on our leadership council. Next, we have the Connect Peer Mentor Program. So like it sounds, it's a mentorship program where we use the peer-to-peer model. And so if you choose to join our program, you have the opportunity to be matched with an upperclassman, and you would be matched with someone over summer. And then you also get another mentor in the fall once you start our program. And basically, it's what it sounds like. They kind of help you get adjusted to campus, and then you kind of can become part of like a mentor family. So as sometimes we'll see, there's a student that comes in their first year and then they're matched with a mentor, and then that mentor still talks to their mentor, and it kind of just goes down the line that way. They do a lot of fun events as well. They do like trips to DC. They're going to do that this semester. They do a bunch of different activities around campus and go to athletic events. So there's a lot of opportunities to basically learn from other people in the program. Next, we have the Alumni Mentor and Partner Program. So we are huge on our alumni in Gemstone. We think that, I mean, what's the point of being in the program if you don't stay connected afterwards? So we try our best to stay as connected as possible to our alumni, dating back, even 10, 15 years ago. So what happens is they have the opportunity to be matched with an alumni mentor from our program, and they kind of provide a lot of like professional development. So for example, we've done a couple different events based on specific majors. So we have an event coming up that's for our engineering majors, and we call it like a career pathways panel. So then the alumni, they love to come back and help with the various events that we have. And so they'll talk about, this was my path when I was an engineering student. This is where I've ended up. This is how Gemstone has helped me in my professional career. So that's just a snapshot. There's a lot of other things that they do, but that's something that's coming up that we're excited about. We also have the coordinator for cohort cohesiveness, so lots of words. But this person basically helps select our cohort representatives. And so these cohort representatives, as it sounds, whatever cohort they're in, they try to put on events that specifically their cohort will come to. So yes, you can go to GEMS Camp and you can be a part of Connect and a couple other things, but we see the value in kind of being in your cohort and kind of learning together and growing together. So they do a bunch of different events, kind of like study days for, class of 2026, or they do, ice cream and hanging out. So they just see that there's a lot of value in being within your cohort. So we love that. Second to last thing we have is our newly formed class, which is GEMS 101. So this class is kind of our introduction class to Gemstone, but also research. And so we have a committee and some co-directors and teaching assistants that basically help out with this class. So as a teaching assistant, basically these are upperclassmen that have decided, hey, I want to come back and help in this introductory class, and I want to talk to the incoming students and basically help teach the curriculum. So we have different like discussion sections, which are smaller groups that get to kind of talk about what even is research? What does it look like at Maryland? What are some things that can help you prepare for when you're about to be on your research team? So that's the first class that you would take if you joined our program. And then steering committee is basically a group of students that get to help create the curriculum. So we provide lots of opportunities within our classes, which is exciting. And then lastly, we have team formation, which is another class that you would end up taking in your time with Gemstone. And so as it sounds, it's how you form your research team. So I'm sure the students that we have on the call maybe could talk about this later, so I won't spoil it too much, but there is a process where you pitch an idea, and then that potentially could be the research topic that you and your team would continue to do for the rest of your time in the program. So again, we have teaching assistants that help with this class, and then also the steering committee that helps with formulating the teams and then the content in the class. So as you can see, lots of different opportunities for leadership. And I think that's one of the best things about our program is that, like Allison had said, yes, we're 4 years, but there's so much you can do in 4 years. And so we try to provide as many opportunities as possible for students to kind of continue to grow and learn more about themselves as a leader, but also professionally. So that's a little snapshot of leadership stuff.
I can hop back on quickly and we're about to open it for questions, but in case you're kind of curious what people end up doing after Gemstone, our students follow a variety of different paths. A lot go to grad school or med school, vet school, law school, etc. And then plenty enter the workforce after graduating from Gemstone. And so we kind of included a few places that we know some of our alums are off working at now, but we've been around for almost 30 years, and so we have a lot of alums, as you would imagine. And so again, as Brenna mentioned with the alumni mentor opportunities, it's such a valuable resource because if you're interested in certain career paths, we'll be able to hook you up with someone who might be able to give you advice for maximizing your success while you're in Gemstone, while you're at Maryland, ideas for internships, etc. So yeah, with that though, let's just kick it off, open it up for questions. And as I mentioned, I'm sure many of you will have questions specifically for our 4 students. And then of course, Brianna and I can jump into with questions that you would want us to answer. And you can unmute and ask your question, or if you feel more comfortable, you can also write it in the chat. So you can kind of go either route. So yeah, any questions? And when questions end up in the chat, I'll probably read them aloud just so everyone knows which one we're answering. So the question is, what percentage of Gemstone students are engineering majors? So Gemstone, I guess maybe I can answer this. Gemstone originally back 30 years ago started in engineering, but then when it joined the Honors College, it was open to students of all majors. And so as far as how many students are engineering majors, I don't know the exact number off the top of my head. I'd say maybe about a third of the students are engineering majors. And that number within a certain cohort, that number kind of shifts. It just depends on who we get for that incoming class. And yeah, so hopefully that answered your question. Okay, let me try to go in order. Lots coming in on the chat. Okay, how does the research account for students who may study abroad for a semester? Maybe I'll answer that one too, just because if you're interested in study abroad in Gemstone, I would be who you talk to. You definitely can study abroad in Gemstone. I was just collecting a study abroad contract from one of our juniors who's abroad this semester. The only requirements that we have is that you wait until after you make it through the intro series of classes. And so that would be after fall of sophomore year. So basically, spring of sophomore year, all of junior year, and even potentially fall of senior year would be up for being able to study abroad. And I definitely highly support people of doing that. And then, as far as what that looks like specifically and how you still continue to support your team, I can answer more specific details about that down the road. We don't have to spend too much time on it right now. Okay. Next question we had was roughly how many students are in Gemstone by class? So that's about 100, 120 students per cohort is typically about the size, to answer that quickly. And then here's one that I will hand over to the students. So what does the process to choose a research project topic look like? So if any of the four of you want to hop off mute, when multiple people can answer this too.
I can go. So, the process looks like it happens your second semester freshman year, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And essentially, throughout your first semester and the beginning of your second semester freshman year, everyone's going to be looking into research topics that they are interested in. So, whatever your heart desires, it can be in a lab, it can be engineering, computer science, it can be a social project as well, whatever is interesting to you. And the research topics kind of just get dwindled down from there. So, the more developed ones that um, are more feasible, you talk a lot about feasibility in Gemstone as well, they get voted on. And so it's the most popular ones end up getting filtered through. But nothing's ever set in stone. My group that I joined, we originally really wanted to research PCOS. And it just ended up not working out with the mentor and things like that. So we ended up pivoting and doing GI symptoms and crossing it over with women on their menstrual cycle. So we got a little bit of both there. But it's really all about working with your team and finding, a topic and a research topic that is meaningful to everyone on the team.
Great. Thanks, Leah. Does anyone else want to add into that, or I can also move to the next question too? I'll give just a second.
I also kind of want to add to that statement of how it kind of works out. We also do kind of a pitch system. So you also kind of get to enhance your public speaking skills and kind of interact with your peers on a more cohesive level. So you get to kind of see where your interest lies and kind of how to, emulate or kind of enhance why you're passionate about that specific topic to your peers, kind of gain more people to be interested in your project. And like Leah mentioned, after that process, there's many other that kind of go into ensuring that everyone is on a team at the end of the day.
Just to add on to that, there are also faculty who come in every single week during our ideation rooms when students are pitching projects to propose their own projects. So for many weeks, your freshman year, faculty from all different departments will come in and pitch research ideas they're interested in, but maybe don't have the students to support, and they want to form a research team. So last week, as a TA, I was talking with someone who came in to pitch an idea about terrorism and the science behind it, how our brains work. And so he worked at the DOJ, he helped implement the drone system for the White House. And so they bring a ton of super accomplished faculty in with a ton of connections who you can also collaborate with as well.
Great, thank you. And this is kind of a related question. I'm trying to follow the Q&A side and then the chat. Um, can you explain a little bit more about what the process was like developing the general area of interest for one of your projects? Before the students broke into groups, was their initial idea or field of study? So maybe one or two can maybe share how the origin of your project came about. And Emma did share one way that that happens, which is sometimes faculty put forward ideas, but maybe if any of the four of you want to jump on just with a specific example from your team.
I can take over. So for Scoot, we started off more on looking at public transportation system, such as like VO scooters. And over time, we went through what was called an I-Core process, which is interviewing different people to see what is important in the system of micromobility. And that kind of focused us from just VO scooters to more rehabilitation scooters. And that kind of gives an idea of
adjust over time to specific. It can get a shift because we very much started off as only focusing on transportation and public scooters, and we over like shifted more towards rehabilitation, which part of the process is writing like your thesis is it's very dynamic and like you may have something written initially and it'll kind of adjust to the findings of your research over time.
I can also go. When you're a freshman and you're all researching things that you're interested in, like my best advice would be pick a topic that you have always wanted to know more about or is really interesting to you. So mine was like women's health. So my original pitch was something to do with IUDs, but there's a really huge like group, your cohort is really big and it has a lot of diverse ideas. So I ended up joining a group that was not my idea, it was someone else's pitch. And it was just a lot more developed and better than mine. So I was happy to join a different team, but it also interested me. So, come into this with an open mind, having, ideas that you have researched or just things that interest you, but it's also kind of eye-opening to be able to see the rest of your cohort and how they think and the ideas that they bring to the table is really impressive.
There, go ahead. Sorry.
And I have like one last, oh, sorry. If you can hear me. I was saying, kind of like look for ideas that are outside of your major almost, because sometimes you can feel like bogged down by like only looking at, let's say, physics, and you kind of want to explore environmental science. You can pursue a project with that, specifically in that realm that you're really interested in.
Yeah, that's all really helpful. Good answers. Okay, so I'm keeping kind of some connected questions as best as I can and jumping back and forth. So we had a question of what is the dynamic with, a team of 8 to 12 students? Are you allowed to switch teams after they've been decided? So I'll quickly answer the second question and then maybe see if the students want to jump in on the first part of that question. So once you form the teams in spring of your freshman year, there isn't really the short answer is no, you can't really switch teams. However, in the team formation process, we really try to make sure that we're getting people onto a team that they're really excited about. And so that process is really taking into people's feelings, what are maybe they ranking as here are more than one projects that I could be really excited about pursuing. And then we take into account your TA's knowledge of you and what you're really interested in. And when we do team formation, it's like it's a given night right before spring break. Sometimes TAs will even be contacting the students in their section and being like, "Oh, I see that you not rank, but you kind of indicated you'd be happy to be on this team. Like, are you sure? Like, I knew you told me this in person." And so we really take into account to try to get you on a team that you're really going to be excited about. And then, yeah, maybe if any of our four students want to jump in about, what it's like to work on a team of, somewhere between 8 to 12-ish students.
Go ahead, Owen.
I can start off first. So I with Team Scoot, we initially were about 10 students, but with like conflicting schedules, we're more about 7. But it's very much broken into how much it kind of we self break apart into specialties. So like we have mechanical engineers on our team, electrical engineers, and aerospace is like a 3 big groups, and we kind of self organize into this group. Like the aerospace and myself, we work a lot more on the electrical and controls system, while our mechanical team kind of works on the mechanical aspects and like designing parts to add to our scooters. So a lot of it depends on what your project is, but it's always kind of generally kind of always self-organized into different like sub teams that will focus on different parts of your project.
Yeah, so I have a team of 11 people. And at this point, honestly, everyone kind of wants to do everything. So far, everyone is working on everything. We will definitely split into sub teams, but it's really great because a lot of people are bio majors, but we also have diverse majors, and everyone is able to contribute to, a lit review and a proposal. Like you realize really quickly how to navigate 11 people writing the same document. And it's great because very quickly, you're spending so much time together, hours each week. You get to know those people very well, very quickly. Like some of them I knew very well before team formation, but also some of the people I didn't know at all. And so, it's 10 more people that I'm very close with now. And I say, like, we've definitely had bumps in the road. Every team's going to have bumps, but we've been able to figure it out very easily. And I think our communication, our teamwork, our like writing together has just all improved so significantly, even after a semester.
Great. Thank you both. Okay, I'm gonna keep jumping to other questions. So the question that said, although the credits are the same or close to the same with the other honors programs, conducting research seems like a bigger task than some of the other programs. How does the workload in GEMS compare to the other honors college programs? I guess maybe I'll answer part of this and then hand it over. Looks like Owen has an answer too. So I guess the aspect that you have to count on in this case is that you have a team that is approaching your research. So whereas it might take an individual student to pursue any of these research topics, maybe it would probably be the level of a grad student who's going to put in 40 hours a week onto their research every week to advance it. But when you have a team and you each can put in a few hours a week to do your research, whether that's you're analyzing survey data or you're in the wet lab or whatnot, and then you're kind of building off your other team members, you're able to push the project forward in a way that then is not requiring each individual person to put in 20 hours a week into Gemstone. So I'll let the students comment on, they're obviously they've only ever been in Gemstone. They've never been in any of the other honors programs, but at least they can comment on, what is it like to balance Gemstone with everything else that's on your plate? Because our students are all, lots of them double major or they're involved in many clubs, etc. So I'm always really impressed, and people, all the number of things that everyone's able to balance. So Owen, you had something to add?
Yes, I'm part of, besides just like coursework, I'm involved in like IEEE, Women in Engineering, Flexus and Vertus, the Satire magazine. I do a lot of involvement on campus, and particularly with Gemstone and how at least the ECE department handles a lot of our classes. Unlike most honors courses, because they're only 2 years, a lot of the classes are compressed into your first 2 years, and you have to take a lot more courses. Well, Gemstone, we kind of end up, particularly after your sophomore year, they get very spread out. And some of your, particularly like the electrical engineering department, accounts for the fact you are taking Gemstone, and it can count for a lot of your general tech electives. Like for the electrical engineering department, 6 out of your 12 Gen Tech requirements are filled by being part of the Gemstone research program. I know it can vary depending on the department. Like I think aerospace counts a bit less from when I've mentored aerospace students and helped them developing their schedules, but it's at least course wise, it's very balanced, I feel. The only thing I would say, and particularly work-wise, as being in charge of like the main person in charge of electronics for a team, I do have sometimes more work, but it's usually not a ridiculous amount of work compared to all of the other duties I have on campus. And it's pretty much with your team, it is very easy to balance out your work.
Yeah, so adding on top of that, I would also say that coming into freshman year is going to be a really big learning curve anyway. So that's why a lot of the classes are the first 2 years because you're just coming into, college, you're taking all your other classes, and then you have your Gemstone classes on top of that. So there have been times in the past 8 semesters that I have maybe taken like 18 credits because of the Gemstone classes added on top of that. But I can honestly say that it didn't feel like to me an 18 credit amount of work. Like it was very manageable to me. And I also, I do a lot of things outside of Gemstone. I do a lot of like pre-PA and healthcare stuff outside of Gemstone. So, it also is a lot on time management and learning how to manage your own schedule and your own time because it's a lot different than whenever if you're coming from high school or wherever you're coming from. It is a big learning curve, but it gets much easier. And especially the last 2 years are very flexible in terms of just, communicate with your team. There's obviously going to be times where you can't dedicate as much time to this team as maybe some of your other teammates, but then there's other times where you're going to have to flip flop and you're going to say, I'm taking less credits this semester and I can step up and be, kind of the leader for my team for this semester. And it's just like, I feel like my team does that really well. I'm really close with my team as well. So it's just all about communication.
Great, thank you. Maybe we can kind of answer a few questions that are similar-ish at once. And so we had a question that was, how much time you spend with just your team, your group, versus like everyone in Gemstone versus the Honors College or beyond the Honors College. So yeah, I guess how is being in Gemstone allowed you different kind of groups of social interactions. And then maybe also on a related note to that is, is there still availability for participation in clubs, athletics, other organizations while you're in Gemstone, which some of you did touch on in the last question as well.
Yeah, I kept putting my mic on and off. Sorry, I love this question. But a lot of my friends that I've made like through like college or like a lot of my college friends have came from Gemstone. Kind of a big shout out to Gems Camp because a lot of my like current friends that I have right now came from Gems Camp. So Gems honestly becomes like a big like tight knit family. Like Dr. Lanswork said, there's relatively 120 people in each like cohort. So it's not a huge group of people, but it's still enough to kind of like explore and like make a large like web of friends and like not feel like bogged down or feel like alone in that sort of sense. But also too like college outside of Gemstone is, a very large and new environment to make new friends. So even if 99% of your friends aren't from Gemstone, you'll still make a good amount of friends that are in other forms of the honors program of the honors college. Like I have some friends that are in UH because it's supposed to be like a kind of a giant umbrella. So like people who are from GEMS know people from ILS and so forth and so on. It's kind of just finding out who your people are and knowing like what connections you have to one another.
I can answer this question too. I love this question as well. So I lived in the Gemstone housing my freshman year, and I'm a senior now, so I didn't live in that housing all 4 years. But all of the friends that I made from my freshman year housing are legitimately my best friends now, and I even live with some of them in my senior year. So I'm hoping that's your experience, like if you put in the effort and like good vibes, I hope that'll be your experience as well. But in terms of freshman year, it's a big school, but like a small community, I like to say, especially with wherever you're living. So you're going to meet a lot of people. And then with Gemstone being kind of like a constant in your life, you're going to be able to see this small community throughout the 4 years and kind of always have these people in your corner. But it also doesn't have to be, it's not necessarily has to be 100% of your circle. Like I also joined a pre-health fraternity my junior year, and I met so many people who are now also some of my closest friends, and they are not in Gemstone and have never been a part of it. So At UMD specifically, there's just a lot of options to be able to do things that pique our interest or find people with similar interest. And you'll find your community wherever that is. But I do think Gemstone is a good starting point.
Go off of that. If you're interested in like engaging with the other honors programs, there are a ton of opportunities to do so. Like for example, you can become an honors ambassador, which is why we're all here. And that's a way to interact with all the different living learning programs. You go to events together, and like for example, I've become close with people in other honors programs, like two of them in a different program I'm living with next year. So you definitely don't just have to stick to the Gemstone circle. And then also to go off of someone's other question, there's sometimes the misconception that if you're in Gemstone, like you can't get involved in other types of research on campus, which is definitely not the case. A lot of people are involved as like research assistants in labs in completely different departments than their Gemstone team is in. So it's definitely possible. A lot of us are just interested in research. But like I'm a research assistant in a lab in the College of Education, so completely different than bioengineering. And it's totally possible to do both and to fit both in your semester.
Great, thank you. Oh, sorry, Owen, you have a comment to add?
And then to go into kind of the structure, the first year and the first year and a half, so your entire freshman year and then the first semester of sophomore year is when you'll have at least one class with your entire cohort or a significant part of your cohort together. And that's following that is when you kind of more focus on when you have your official Gemstone classes. Those are going to be your team meetings, and it's when I personally meet a lot of different honors students from like meeting with different events, and you always through like Gemstone and Connect, you meet a lot of friends through those. But I know part of I'm part of honors ambassadors or part of honors ambassadors is the new student leadership council, and a lot of friends we've made through Gemstone were through different social events. So that's what is currently in the progress of making a kind of honors college wide one where we can talk to have different events to kind of intermingle more honors college students.
Great, thank you. I know we only have a couple minutes left. I might answer a couple of the questions that are short answers quickly. So is it possible to complete the program in 3 years? So yes, we do have a mechanism for, we call it like early graduation. Basically, you in order to fulfill all the requirements for completing your citation with Gemstone, you would still need to see through your involvement with your team, but you wouldn't necessarily be enrolled in the last couple of classes. But maybe you'd be helping if you graduate a semester early with the thesis writing or data analysis, etc. But we do have ways to make that work. It's just something you'd want to talk more in depth with us if it is something that you're considering. We had a question I remember seeing, yeah, just in the chat. Are there typically always a few life science projects? Yes, every cohort, I'd say at least has a few that are under kind of the life sciences. You probably heard a couple of examples from today, but again, if you go to the team search on the website, you'll be able to see the whole variety of team topics. I think we kind of answered how the teams are picked. Let's see. And then Owen's doing a good job kind of typing in some short answers. If we don't get to any of your questions today, you're welcome to contact us. If you can find our contact info on the GEMS website. So please send us an email if you have anything that you're wondering about before you go through and finish preferencing and things like that, or even after that. So please reach out, because I think Chantel, remind me, are we off at 6:50?
6:55.
Oh, 6:55. Okay, good. We have a few more time for a few more questions. Let's see, which ones have we not gotten to? With a question, if I've already been a part of a research project at UMD, would it be possible to return to that team for my Gemstone project? It's a little hard to know specifically what you're referring to. I don't know if it means as like a high school student if you're involved in something. The Gemstone teams are formed from Gemstone students, so I'm gonna assume that probably would mean that no, but it might be that something from a project that you have been involved in when you're in high school or etc. sparks an interest for a topic that you want to pitch as a research idea. And so in that sense, like you might continue on with something as long as other people in your cohort are interested in it. It might relate to something that you have worked on before. It just has to be kind of novel is obviously a key requirement for Gemstone. It can't be something else that someone else is already currently researching.
And also,
go ahead,
sorry.
Sarah. No, go for it.
With that question of like doing research with UMD, I know sometimes UMD faculty will take on like high school students over the summer and like have them work in their research labs. If that faculty member like still wants to take on more like students, you could always talk to Dr. Lovell and Dr. Landsberg and be like, could this faculty member pitch to the entire Gemstone cohort so you can still keep doing your research within Gemstone?
Yeah, that's a great addition to that. Basically, the only difference for it being a Gemstone team would be that obviously you have to have space for you and 7, 8, 9 other students to work on the topic as well. So if it's just enough space for the research area that just you as an individual would be working on it, then it's maybe not the best fit for a Gemstone team, and that's definitely something that you should pursue as like do an individual student faculty research. But as far as Gemstone goes, you want to make sure that there's space for a whole team of students to be working towards answering the question. Okay, let's see. We kind of touched on that a little bit. Yeah, so Owen typed a short answer, but we can maybe return to this a little bit more. Since it is a 4-year program, would you say that time spent dedicated to your major is more evenly distributed across your 4 years compared to the 2-year programs where maybe your first 2 years are dedicated to the program and then your final 2 are dedicated more to your major? Owen answered yes. In his opinion, it's kind of more spread over the 4 years. Yeah, I think certainly in terms of maybe like credit requirements, it does allow a little bit more space in your schedule, especially once you get into those research seminar classes I was mentioning. Those are 2 credits, and so you have lots of room in terms of credit space to fit other classes in. And even in the early intro series, the fall of your first year, you'll take a 3-credit class. In the spring, you'll take a 1-credit class. The following fall, you'll be in 3 credits. And then from there on, it's 2 credits each semester. So it's allows for plenty of space in your schedule to kind of work in your classes for your major or minor or other things that you plan to take. So hopefully that answers that. Let's see, any last questions coming in? I'll mark that. And then, yeah, so do you join a team before choosing a research topic? Owen answered, yeah, teams are kind of based on common interest in a research topic, but as some of the students alluded to, sometimes once you're on that research team, you're still kind of figuring out the direction of your project. So you are really taking everyone's voices into account, making sure that, it's going to be really exciting for everybody on the team, especially once you have your faculty mentor come on board, which is something that Leah mentioned, that, then even more so the direction of your project is going to really start to finalize and narrow down, and you'll come up with your specific research questions. And so, even though you kind of have these ideas that you've pitched that then lead to the team formation, those teams, everyone, the actual coming up with the specific research topic, that's kind of like a team effort, and especially including your research faculty mentor as a member of that team. Okay, we only really have 1 minute left. Hopefully, I think we got to pretty much every question. Oh, one question says, if you stay on campus, you have guaranteed on-campus housing all 4. Oh, that was just Owen dropping that in. Saying you have guaranteed on-campus housing for all 4 years if you want that. We don't have
It's
a housing requirement like some of the other programs, although still the vast majority of our first year students do live in our spaces. So that could be something more that we can speak on later if you have questions offline after the chat.